Sorry, my
You
hair
kind of
keeps
have the
going.
same hairstyle now. That's weird.
Well, yeah, because I'm growing mine. And get the long hair happening.
Oh, I still taste Jameson in my mouth. Sorry.
That's great. I wish I tasted Jameson in my mouth this morning. Hi! I don't know.
Giancarlo's voice just cracked.
Yeah, I'm going through puberty. Hi! It took me 13 days. I'm Giancarlo.
I'm Felicia.
And this is a review of
13 days.
the Cuban Missile Crisis.
What year?
1963.
Oh.
No, wait, I'm wrong. 1963 was when he was assassinated.
You're
Oh no, I'm right.
fired. 1962.
Oh,
Dude, it says on the...
Yeah, I know. I know, but you covered it. In this two-player game, players will take on the role of President Kennedy or Khrushchev during the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. Have the most prestige by the end of the third round and you'll win. Careful though, push your agenda too far and you might launch a nuclear war, making you go down in history as the villain and coward, making you automatically lose the game. On the board, you'll have the round marker and the prestige marker in their starting position. Give each player all their influence cubes, blue for US, red for USSR, their 3 flag counters, and their DEFCON markers. The US player also starts with the personal letter. Each player will then place 2 influence cubes, each in their respective starting battlegrounds. The US denoted by the star, and the USSR denoted by the hammer and scythe. Each player will place their DEFCON markers on the DEFCON track, denoted by their icon as well. Their strategy and agenda cards will form their respective deck, and you're now ready to avert nuclear war.
The round order is made up of 8 phases, conveniently listed on the board. First, increase or escalate each DEFCON marker up by 1. Next, each player draws 3 agenda cards. He'll place all his flag markers on the board denoted by the cards he drew. From his cards, he'll then choose 1, place it in his agenda space face down, reshuffling the other 2 back in the agenda deck. These are end of round objectives which will give you and your opponent prestige for completing them. So do pay attention to not only your agenda but also try and figure out which of the 3 agendas your opponent is going for. These could be majority of influence in the battlegrounds. Higher escalation of the DEFCON tokens in military, political, or world opinion, or having the personal letter at the end of the round. Players will then draw 5 strategy cards and the player with the least prestige decides who goes first by having initiative. If tied, then the USSR player decides. Now players one by one will play a card from their hand until they only have 1. Let's pause here and see how these strategy cards are played.
There are 3 types of cards: US, USSR, or United Nations. You can play any card and there are 2 ways of using them. You may use it for command, which allows you to place or remove a number of influence cubes as depicted by the card on any battleground. When placing cubes, you'll also escalate your DEFCON token denoted by the battleground's color by a number of cubes placed -1. So for 3 cubes placed in Italy, you'll raise your political DEFCON token up 2 spaces. Removing cubes works the same way, but deflating that said DEFCON token. We'll get into this later on why it's important to keep track of these levels. You may also use the personal letter to add or remove an extra cube when playing a card. Give the personal letter after to your opponent. It's also important to know that you can never have more than 5 influence cubes in any battleground, and that you only have 17 of these cubes. Should you use an opponent's nation card, before you do your command action, that opponent may choose to do the card's text effect, or event as it's called. This brings us to the second way of playing a card. Use it for the event. Only your nation's card and the United Nations card can be used for event. Should an event have this symbol, it means any effect used will have you adjust the DEFCON track accordingly. If not, then it does not need to move. When a player played a card, his opponent will then play one of his. The last card in hand will be placed face down in the aftermath space, as stated on phase 4 of the round order. At the end of the game, the nation with the most cube icons will garner his player a 2-point prestige bonus.
After a card's been placed in the aftermath face down, we look at the world opinion bonus. The player with the most influence in television can escalate or deflate one of their DEFCON markers. Player winning United Nations will take the personal letter, and lastly, the dominating player in alliances will draw the top card of the strategy deck and decide to add it face down in the aftermath pile or discard it. For battleground agendas, the player with the most will score prestige based on the difference of influence cubes there. plus any bonuses listed on the card also seen on the board. Both Cuba's and Atlantic bonus works a little different. For each adjacent battleground, as denoted by this circle, where a player has a majority, will also score him a 1-point bonus to a maximum of 2. For military, political, or world opinion agendas, first escalate all DEFCON markers in DEFCON 2 area by 1, anything here, and then the dominating player receives prestige based on the difference of the appropriate DEFCON marker as the agenda. Once resolved, we check for nuclear war. Should a player's marker be in DEFCON 1, that player loses the game. Should all his markers be in DEFCON 2 or above, that player loses the game. Yes, it's possible both players lose this way. If nuclear war has been averted, move the round marker up and start a new round. Now, if the DEFCON markers are in a losing position, you only check for losing at phase 7. Check for nuclear war. So you'll have all round to deflate those by removing cubes using command and or events. All cubes from previous rounds stay on the board. Should the round marker reach A, flip all Aftermath cards. Remove all UN cards and separate the other two by their nation. The player with the most influence cube depicted gains a 2 prestige bonus. The player with the most prestige wins. If tied, the player holding the personal letter wins.
So this game has been influenced by one of the greatest two-player games called Twilight Struggle. Whereas the game takes about 3 hours to play, 13 days takes a quarter of the time. And that short gaming time makes this game highly addictive, which I guess makes it score highly on the replay value. Also the fact that both nations play a little different. Besides the great tactics and strategy, the game provides players with a great deduction aspect and a small element of misdirection or bluffing. Amazingly, one of the cons the game has is actually the luck factor. Many a game, the third and final round, it's possible you get none of your nation's cards. And though part of the game is to manage those cards and how you play them sequentially, it's very hard to do in the last round when you give your opponents extra events to do or extra points in the aftermath. To be fair, the nations and UN cards are all equally divided, so it is possible the previous rounds more of your nation cards have been played. But still, I strongly believe that in the final round, it's more crucial than in any other. I'm also going to give a half-point penalty to components. They're not bad, but they're not great either, especially the nation tokens. I would have loved thicker ones, or maybe not made of cardboard. I don't know. Not a deal breaker, so only a half-point penalty. I absolutely loved, however, the inclusion of the Missile Crisis history booklet. Extremely well written, informative, easy to read, and puts you directly in the mind frame of the game and theme. 13 Days is a very good two-player game that I highly recommend. A dirty secret from this reviewer is that I never played Twilight Struggle, but this game gave me a high incentive to. For me, 13 Days gets a well-deserved 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
You know what's amazing about Canadian history?
What?
We don't know shit about it. Ask an American thing, we know like dates. It's
Yeah.
fucked up, man.
Yeah, and the Americans too are very
Patriotic.
yeah,
and,
exactly.
Yeah, they know everything.
They know everything about this.
But that's not true. Lately, you ever see those
Yeah,
geography
the
things?
guy-
Like they ask people where. It's amazing.
Yeah, but they
It's
don't
fantastic.
know. They don't know where. Like that's the thing with the States is they know.
They don't know anything else about the rest of the
Exactly.
world. Yeah.
Like if you ask them where Africa is, they'll probably be
They'll
like,
think it's a country.
Exactly, they're not too
And we're
sure.
like,
but if you
dude,
ask
it's a
them where like
fucking-
the cow in Louisiana, that I don't know what.
Who married the fucking
Yeah,
cow in
exactly,
Louisiana?
like, who
is the
is-
bull Rob?
Yeah, like how many horses or I don't know. They'll know stupid shit. I'm making no sense.
And
but
we are
they-
not stereotyping you guys
Not
in
at
any
all.
way, shape, or form.
Not at all. Is it too late
Not
now
even
to
a
say
little
sorry?
bit. Because that's not stereotypical of Canadians.
But
Sorry.
I'm sorry, Justin Bieber.
I'm sorry.
Justin Bieber walked into fucking that one.
But Justin Bieber, we're
He's
smart.
Canadian and
We
you're
export
sung
the
in-
shit to the States. Sorry, guys.
What are you talking about?
Fucking Justin Bieber,
Yeah?
Celine Dion, I'm gonna get fucking killed.
What do
I'm
we
gonna
mean we
get
export them
killed.
to the States? What are you
Well,
talking
she's
about?
big in the States. She's not big. Well, she's big here, but what show has she done here? She went to Vegas for
Mr. Giancarlo Caltabiano, has 15 shows at the beginning of August at Le Centre Bell.
this year.
Yeah?
Because René Angelil died. This is all in the game, by the way. This all happened in 1962. Celine Dion was born.
It's possible.
It is very possible. Hey,
It's
I
very
timed this
possible.
shit in, man. I'm quick
Very
that way.
possible. President Kennedy, be careful. I don't get that. Someone for real did that?
Well, yeah, because be careful, because this was during in history, the closest has ever been to a nuclear war was during this time.
Okay, this is Guevara, this is Castro, right?
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
Fidel, and who the fuck? Okay, please.
That's I believe that's the Russian president. I might be wrong, but what's his name?
And this
Khrushchev?
is Vietnam, right? Yeah. Bombs over Baghdad. Bombs over Baghdad.